and gentlemen, we are all set for our next panel discussion. Startup-driven economic transformation, building trillion-dollar digital economy. Ladies and gentlemen, हमारे साथ we're going to have on stage a moderator, Ms. Shweta Rajpal Kohli, President and CEO, Startup Policy Forum. Please give a big hand for her, everyone.
Thank you so much. I know we had a power-packed panel before that, and star founders. So from star founders to stars in the government ecosystem, it's my honor and privilege to be moderating this session. How can startups power a trillion-dollar digital economy? And you know why I'm super excited about this session? I think two reasons. It is the only Sarkari panel, as we can call it. So, you know, if you want to know what the Sarkar is thinking, what the government's thinking, and how the government's enabling startups, this is the session where you're going to hear it all. And there's one other special reason why I'm excited about moderating this session, because for once, you know, we have diversity of a different kind. So thank you, Abhishek Singh ji, for being the diversity candidate this time on the panel. And I'm super, I would say, proud to have two women leaders here. You know, we've got Aarti Bhatnagar, Special Secretary in the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. And in fact, she has got multiple portfolios. So simply a powerhouse in the Indian government and is driving so many initiatives. Manmeet Nanda, Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and someone I've had the pleasure of working very closely in her earlier avatar of dealing with startups at DPIIT and holding multiple portfolios, and she's someone who understands this ecosystem very well. And I would say, in some ways, the person sitting next to me is the man of the moment for India. Abhishek Singh, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, METI. But more importantly, he's holding the dual charge as the CEO of India AI Mission. And of course, who doesn't want to know what's going on in AI right now and what's going on as far as India and AI is concerned. So let me start by actually getting him to answer exactly that. Mr. Singh, we know that the world is watching India right now on AI. There is almost palpable excitement and energy about India moving forward in the AI ecosystem. Share with us everything that the government's doing to enable this, and what is it that the audience sitting here in the room should watch out for?
See, like, thank you for having me here. And in fact, as you rightly said, the world is looking at India. The world is looking at India providing leadership in the AI story that is unfolding. We have shown what digital public infrastructure can do, and there's a lot of expectations, especially with the talent that we have in the digital space. In fact, if you look at the Stanford AI Index, it rates India as the #1 in AI skill penetration. If you look at the number of GitHub AI projects, we contribute 24% of the projects on GitHub. The projects contributed by Indians. So there is a lot of expectations. So similar to ensure that we are able to reach their potential, because currently we are much behind US and China when it comes to building AI models or AI applications. So the government did examine what were the gaps in our AI story, and it was felt that we need to provide compute infrastructure, we need to provide data sets, we need to provide funding for foundational model, we need to provide funding for startups who are working in this field, because very often AI and deep tech requires patient capital. It's not that you invest X and you get a return in 2 to 3 years. Sometimes you have to wait for long. So under that, India AI Mission was conceptualized, a funding of almost $1.2 billion, 10,372 crores to be precise, which seeks to provide compute. We have already empaneled 10 service providers, 14,000 GPUs are available for at a very low cost, 115 rupees per GPU per hour, and over and above this, government provides 40% support. So the net cost for GPUs for a startup is less than $1, 67 rupees per GPU per hour, which ensures that entrepreneurs, startups, researchers working on AI models and applications can access that. We set up a platform called AI Kosh, which is providing data sets, tools and models. More than 400 data sets are available there, and ultimately data sets is something that you require along with talent and compute to build AI applications. We also publish a call for proposals of foundation models, because there is a lot of expectations of everyone that China has come with DeepSeek. When will India come up with foundation models? So we have got almost 200 proposals for building India foundation models. The first set of proposals is likely to be finalized, that will be funded by the government within the next 2 weeks. And we hope that these companies will be able to work on, with the support provided, to build a foundation model that is trained on India databases very soon. We also have other pillars in the India AI mission, where we are providing support for skilling, we are providing fellowships for undergrad students or master's students, and for research scholars. We are setting up a fund of funds and working with accelerators, incubators to provide funding support to startups. We are also building tools for safe and trusted AI. Then application development is again another focus area, wherein we did publish an innovation challenge across 5 themes of agriculture, healthcare, learning disabilities, governance and climate change. And we got 900 applications, out of which 30 were selected and given the first stage of about 25 lakhs by Honorable Minister on 6th of March. And more challenges coming in. So government is trying to provide support at all levels for data sets, for compute, for foundation model, for applications, for building safe and trusted AI, to ensure that our startups, our researchers come up to the expectations and build something that we can truly call Indian and state-of-the-art.
Thank you. That's a lot happening, and clearly you're driving all of it, and we know the next few months are going to be super exciting. And I think what most people say is that India may get it late, but it gets it right. And I think that's the moment everyone's waiting for. And even though we may not see an immediate LLM model coming up, but what we're definitely seeing is vast innovation when it comes to AI use cases and adoption of AI, and something that I can vouch for. There's the Startup Policy Forum. We have so many of the high growth startups as our members, and each day we're seeing AI adoption at a transformative pace. But I think this is also a moment to pause and reflect on the kind of journey of startups we've seen so far. And while we talk about the gaps, as you've rightly identified, and policymakers like you ensuring that we stay ahead of the curve and we're able to plug those gaps, let's first acknowledge the progress. And Aarti ma'am, I'd like you to come in here, because just the sheer explosion of the Indian startup ecosystem, just the fact that we have come in the last 9 years, ever since Prime Minister Modi announced StartupIndia as a major flagship initiative, a major plank, just the fact that we've seen so much innovation, so much progress, so much success of the startup ecosystem. Could you share with us where India stands today in that startup journey?
So I think after the very sterling kind of a panel that we had before us, the speakers who were actually the stalwarts of the startup ecosystem, I think now getting the kind of a Sarkari point of view of what we've been able to do till now in this 9 years of journey, when we started in 2016, I think there are some statistics which should be of interest to all of you. Now we've become the 3rd largest startup unicorn nation in the world. There are 118 unicorns with a total valuation of over 354 billion plus USD. And the unicorns who have made the largest impact is from a 13 times increase, that is from 8 in 2015 to 118 in 2025. So I think this is something that we are very proud of having, this kind of ecosystem which has now come up in the country. So these are the things which I wanted to share with you all, that some more statistics I think which should be of interest is that we've issued 1,64,554 startup certificates, and these have created jobs of 18 lakh plus. The average number of employees per startup is somewhere 11, and the number of states who have a startup policy, it started as 4 in 2016, and now we have 31 states and UTs who have a dedicated startup policy. So this is the kind of achievement that we've got. More than that, I think there is something that we need to understand, that while we may have certain schemes which were giving the right nudge to the developing a startup system, whether it was our startup seed fund or it was our fund of funds scheme, the very important thing is that the environment was created where the startups were able to flourish. But I think we need to go further, because everything, it's a matter of relativity. As they say, the relativity principle is very important. So it's very important also to look at what the other countries have done and where are we in this entire sector, in this entire ecosystem. So that is where we are not resting on our laurels. We in the government have been working on further schemes. So we have, which was just announced in this budget for this financial year, we have a fund of fund 2.0, where another 10,000 crores have been given, which will be able to fund startups, through the AIFs and other means, other venture capitalists and all. The initial 10,000 tranche which was given earlier, 5 years back, has completely been utilized, and now we've got another infusion of capital. So these are some of the things which I thought I must share with you all. And as far as I just wanted to take another few seconds to talk about the Startup Mahakumbh, where we are sitting today. It's the second day. And, I'm really loving this kind of vibrancy and the enthusiasm and the number of footfalls which I'm seeing, which is exponentially grown from last year when we had the first edition. So I think that is a very, very happy situation. And I think it is a time for collaboration, for learning, for, showcasing what you have, and also trying to adopt whatever you've learned so that we can, further go on to the next stage.
All right, Manmeet ma'am, you've seen this ecosystem very, very closely in your previous roles, and now you're also driving social inclusion in many ways. I'd like to pose twin questions to you. First, your understanding of the ecosystem and the fact that we have so-called 100+ unicorns, but we're now talking about the next wave of innovation, StartupIndia 2.0 in some ways, and the fact that now we need to ensure that we're seeing innovation across deep tech, across AI, across many other sectors. What do you think the government can do to enable this? And two, we also want this startup magic to spread well beyond the metros and the tier 1 cities. So how do we take it to tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, and especially to something that is within your mandate, the social inclusion part, and I would say empowerment. If you could shed light on how you're thinking about that.
Thank you, Shweta, and thank you for having me here. Feels great to be part of the community that is so vibrant, so young, energetic, and always throwing great challenges. Yes, that's true. We have come a long way, but there's so much more to do. And transforming India into the 1 trillion economy that we want to be, the answer lies in two major ecosystems. That is one, the startups that we all are here sitting and being a part of and being proud of, the unicorns, and of course the MSMEs. They are the backbone of this country. And MSMEs in a very basic way are or have been the true startups of the Indian economy so far. We need to carry what Aarti ma'am mentioned and what Sir mentioned, carry those reforms further. We need to go beyond the metro cities, and we have been, but encouraging tier 2, tier 3 startups more. And inclusion should be a matter of design and not chance like we have on the stage today. Inclusion, as I see, like I'm looking at a different sector now, people with disabilities. There are so many startups that are doing such commendable work to ease and to progress and transform the lives of people with disabilities. I am shocked to see that there are devices available in the market where a completely vision impaired person has a keyboard that can convert what is on text on the screen into braille, helps him read that, not audio, but helps him read that in braille. He can type back on that keyboard onto the desktop and gets on to an English language that most of us understand. So reform journey needs to continue. The government, industry, academia relationship needs to be greatly strengthened. What we have shown in our startups by changing the way we eat, changing the way we buy things or we sell things, it's what India has shown to the world. I mean, we are a great model for everyone, and I think this needs to continue. Further reforms by the government, continuation of the fund of fund schemes, the startup, the seed incubations startup fund, big proponent of that, because our startups need the hand-holding. AI is the future, it's the present, is the future. Every day I think I will try and figure out greater, things that I can learn on Grok. Perplexity, AI throws me another ball. So I need help, sir, on teaching government bureaucrats like us also to pick up our rate of learning for AI and what the startup world can throw on to us. So
well, that's an interesting one, Abhishek sir, now, and I think I'd like you to respond to what Manmeet ma'am said.
Yes, see, like I fully agree. Like, of course, we all agree that AI is the in thing, and we all are using it, playing with it. But AI goes beyond just writing poems or creating content by using or Ghibli images has become popular on Chat GPT.
And controversial.
No, but in fact, OpenAI has been like since last 2-3 days they have been tweeting about the India is the place. But that's because they are seeing it as a market. But we need to go beyond that by just using it for creating funny things or cartoons or poems or jokes. We need to realize that AI can transform things, as Manmeet mentioned. We did this innovation challenge for learning disabilities, and the kind of solutions that we got, which can help detect autism, which can help solve problems for dyslexia, which can solve problems for dyscalculia, are amazing. Helping people, blind people to see, navigate, helping deaf and dumb to hearing impaired people to communicate better. So there are multiple tools. AI is transforming agriculture. AI is transforming healthcare. So what we have seen is that, and what we are hearing and what we expect is that India will come up with a voice-based LLM, which would ensure that with voice you will be able to seek information services. And in India, that will empower the 500 million people who are not connected to the internet there. So the potential of AI is huge, but at the same time, what she mentioned towards the end, that how do we build in capacities within the government and outside? How do we ensure that we are able to use these tools for improving productivity at all levels, and more so in government? So like I got Karamyogi platform has got, in fact, 2 of their team members, I see them in the audience here also today. So it has got a lot of courses on emerging tech, on AI, on Chat GPT, on Gemini, for using AI in healthcare, on various domains. And happy to say that those courses are one of the most consumed courses on the platform. So there is an effort within the government to improve capacities. There is an effort within the industry to use AI to build applications. What we need is to scale up many of these applications. They should not just remain pilots or proof of concepts. How we can take them to logical end and ensure that more and more people benefit from them. That's the challenge that we as civil servants have to work along with startups to make that happen.
All right, I know we just have the last 5 minutes, and I think I want to go back to the topic, which is how can startups power a $1 trillion digital economy? And for startups to power the $1 trillion digital economy, we need enabling policies and regulations that would allow that. So let's talk about 2030 and talk about that one policy change. And it doesn't have to be in your ministry, it doesn't have to be something that you are driving, but any one of the 3 of you can start, and I'd love to get from all 3 of you that one policy change that you think can fast track this process and take India onto that path of $1 trillion digital economy. And anything that you'd all like to talk about.
Should I go in first? I was taken on a tour to South Korea with my startup team. And what we've not done is we've not capitalized on our high network individuals in our country. There are about maybe 3 lakh plus. They are sitting over assets of 1 million plus. We need to tap those, give them incentives. Also to show them our trust, that we can be trusted as a startup ecosystem, be transparent. I also have read very recently that the startups in the US, they don't rely on the IPO and the basic stock exchanges. So that is where we need to do. And that, I think, Aarti ma'am, if we try and build a venture capital within the government with our locking our arms and hands with the private sector, and I think given a sweat equity, do some ratings for startups who've performed brilliantly on the stock exchange, increase the trust aspect of it, I think we will be able to bridge that gap of capital, because I think what our startups need is capital. And there are a lot of corporate fundings also that can come in, and I think that is an aspect that we need to look up to. So I think this is one way forward, and I would love the DPIIT to take up this and to create a venture capital fund of their own and to take this forward.
So, well, thanks for those thoughts, Manmeet, but let me tell you one thing, that in our second version of seed fund, very early seed fund, we are looking now to, in this 2.0 version, we are looking at a very different perspective, which you said, in fact, not very different in the sense we are adding a number of things to it. Because we have a very robust digital, system in the country. We have a very excellent one. So we need to build up on that. And for that, you see, ultimately what succeeds is the kind of sales and revenues and what you get it. So if government starts getting into it, I think the kind of nudge that we need to do from the government side is providing the right kind of platform, the right kind of funding. But the people who will be able to do it the best are the ones specialists in their business. So the venture capitalists, whether it's the AIFs, they would be able to appraise these schemes and the ideas which the startups have. I think they would let them do their job. That's what I feel very strongly. But where we need to come in is that, yes, that nudge, that you need to go into sectors, which we were talking earlier also about the social disability and these kind of sectors. We need to push them to go to those kind of ideas, support those ideas. Maybe even what Abhishek was mentioning about the AI part. Let's get that in as well. But let us go to these hinterland, those very backward sectors, areas of our country. Let's get their ideas onboarded. And what I would love to have in this, to change this whole thing, is to make it spread. Spread it to all the backward and to all those kind of, let's say slightly those aspirational districts as we have. Let's go there and let's provide them the funding through the, lay down these structures and already that we have. That's how I would look at it.
Thank you. All great ideas, and the last word goes to you.
If I have to think of one policy push, especially with regard to pushing up us on the value chain of the innovation and deep tech research, I will say augment our research funding many times over. Today we have our research funding is around 0.7% of the GDP compared to 3% or more in China and the US. We need to push that many times over. Of course, the 100,000 crore ANRF funding, the Anusandhan Research Foundation funding, is a great step in that direction. The 10,000 crore deep tech fund of funds is again another initiative. In AI we have 2,000 crores for startups. But what we need to do is to accelerate the pace at which we spend this money, and that would require coming up with systems in which decisions are easier to take, trust-based, and people are able to take bets on that. I would actually want several Y Combinators to come in. If we can strengthen the partnership between our academic institutions and startups. Like IIT Madras Research Park is one good example. But we need several such initiatives for a country of our size and potential. If we can have several such Y Combinators in which investments are driven at a very quick pace, the time taken for a startup to raise money in the valley is so much lesser compared to what it is in India. If we are able to create those systems, if we are able to create a system in which the government funds are co-invested along with VCs and investors, high net worth individuals, we will be unlocking a lot of value. So we need to think of creating those systems, and if we are able to bring in those policy changes, there is no reason that we will not be innovating as fast in deep tech and other sectors as we are doing in other sectors. So that's what we need to work together to make that a reality.
So we have with us here three people who are the policy makers, who are the decision makers, who are probably scripting that next success story for Indian startup ecosystem. So I would say we are all, or everybody sitting in this room is looking up to all of you as policy makers and decision makers to be able to drive that change and continue to ensure that the Indian startup ecosystem continues to thrive. Thank you so much, Aarti Bhatnagar ma'am, Manmeet Nanda ma'am and Abhishek Singh sir for being part of this panel. I know the time is up, but it's fascinating to hear how progressive our policymakers are. Thank you.
To stay informed about the startup ecosystem, subscribe to my Startup TV.